desert of California, NASA tests an experimental rocket plane, the X-15. They want to put a man into space, and they're in a hurry.
Rockets were powering aircraft to higher and higher speeds. The X-15 had enough energy to zoom to altitudes above the atmosphere.
The X-15 flies so high, pilots experience weightlessness and look out into the darkness of space. But even at 600,000 horsepower, it would need to fly 4 times its top speed to put a man into orbit.
Godspeed, John Glenn. Cap.
I was expecting somebody to say a launch hold of some kind.
3, 2, 1, 0.
And I couldn't believe it.
Roger, the clock is operating. We're underway. Loud and clear.
Apollo 16. John Young, Charlie Duke, and Ken Mattingly blast off into the Florida sky. Young and Duke used the lunar rover to explore an area known as the Descartes Mountains.
This is gonna be a good day, Charlie. Oh, spectacular. Just spectacular. And here we go.
Apollo 17 targets another geologically rich area of the moon. But this will be Project Apollo's final lunar landing. Budget cuts force NASA to scrub 3 more missions already scheduled.
We were disappointed because they canceled 18, 19, and 20. We had the hardware. We had crews picked. And all it was operational money.
NASA wants the last moon mission to be their greatest. The landing site demands the first night launch of the giant Saturn V rocket. On board, Ron Evans is command module pilot. Harrison Schmitt is NASA's first scientist in space. And the commander of Apollo 17 is Gene Cernan, a veteran of Gemini 9 and Apollo 10.
Apollo 17 was a real goal of mine. I knew before we launched that Apollo 17 was going to be the last flight to the moon, and I knew I would be the guy who make the final steps on the moon. There are a lot of people, I think, in positions of responsibility within NASA who, being the last flight, just wanted me to get back alive.
More than 500,000 people come from all over the world to watch the final lunar launch.
Roger, we're go for liftoff here, Capcom.
I've been to the moon, folks. I'm not going back again, not to land. And I think people knew that. Obviously, I was not going to do something dumb, but I was going to land.
You're looking real good, Jim. Right down the line.
Stand by for touchdown. Stand by. 25 feet. Down at 2. Feels good. 20 feet. Going down at 2. 10 feet. 10 feet. Stop contact. Stop push. Engine stop. Okay, Houston, the Challenger has landed.
Gene Cernan and Harrison Schmitt join an elite fraternity. Only 12 men have landed on the moon.
As I step off at the surface at Taurus Littrow, we'd like to dedicate the first steps of Apollo 17 to all those who made it possible. 3, 2, 1, ignition. Burn away, Houston. Vents are good. Mag start. Good over. Here you have good front.
Cernan and Schmitt start the long journey home. The camera on the rover will transmit pictures back to Earth for another 27 hours. The final images from man's last trip to the moon. The commander of Skylab's first crew is Pete Conrad, who flew 2 Gemini missions and Apollo 12. Rookie Paul Weitz is the pilot. And another rookie, Joseph Kerwin, is the science pilot.
We could stuff it with experiments. We could put the food and water up there for 3 missions. We could do it all, and it was great.
Skylab and crew will launch on separate rockets.
This beautiful big Saturn V with the workshop on it was to launch on May 14th, and it would get into the correct orbit, and the next day we would launch.
Not since Gemini 6 and 7 has NASA attempted 2 launches so close together. The unmanned Skylab flies first.
Skylab lifting off the pad now, moving up. Skylab has cleared the tower.
It looked like a great launch.
Went right up into the sky as far as we could see it and was on its way successfully.
Pretty soon, the news from Mission Control began to get bad. There had been a G-shock and a sudden acceleration on the way up. They didn't know what caused it.
Skylab space station now in orbit. Still some doubt in the minds of flight controllers here in Mission Control as to whether the main solar panels on the workshop have indeed deployed.
T-minus 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, engine sequence start, 2, 1, 0. We have launch commit and we have liftoff. The clock is running and Skylab has cleared the tower.
Houston, Skylab.
8 hours after launch, they rendezvous with Skylab and see the damage close up.
Houston.
The technology of the Apollo program not only carries astronauts to the moon and back, but allows humans to live and work in space longer than ever before.
Space is basically a test of survival. Our ability to invent things that will allow us to use very limited resources. You have to use everything, and you have to use it as most efficiently and effectively as possible.